Okay, so modes. Not as fancy as you think, not as complex as you think. There's a very simple prerequisite in order to have a good fundamental understanding of modes and to have a good foundation on which to build modes on top of. And that's just simply having an understanding of the major and the minor scale themselves. There's 8 notes total, 1 through 8, octave. Notes number 3, 6, and 7 all change when we go from major to minor, assuming, the whole chicken versus the egg thing. Let's assume that major came first, right? And when we have a major scale turning into a minor scale, notes number 3, 6, and 7 all become flat, or they are simply lowered. So, your major scale, moving up and down the neck. 1, root tonic, whichever one you prefer. 1, 2, major 3, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6, major 7, and the octave. Now for the minor scale, we still of course have the tonic, the root, number 1, 2, flat 3, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, flat 6, flat 7, you like that? And the octave. No one's perfect, right? So this is, in essence, the modes themselves, manipulating one or more scale degrees or intervals within the scale. Here's a minor triad. Root, minor 3rd, perfect 5th. That 4th note does not quite belong. That 4th note was actually a major 7 taken from major. And that's the sound of that major 7th being resolved. That's modal right there. That is applying a mode. Taking one note from something else and mixing it with other things and creating a new sound, so to speak. So the other way that you can think about modes is you're simply taking the same major and minor scale patterns. Now this assumes that you are comfortable with your major and minor scale patterns, hopefully all 5 to connect the neck. But anyway, if you take a major scale, in this case I'll use a major scale as an example. If I take that same scale pattern, but I shift what I'm considering the root note to be. Instead of starting on note number 1, I'm going to now start and end on note number 2. I'm going to call that and consider that the root note. Same pattern, same fingerings, same location on the neck. Nothing else is changing except for what I'm considering the root note to be. That's a whole different sound. And all I did was shift what the root note is. That particular example is something called Dorian, which is simply a minor scale with a raised 6 or a major 6. So once again, a minor scale in these examples, at least once again, it was a minor scale with one note taken from major, gives us a whole new sound. So I wanted to close the video with 2 somewhat simple general examples of how to apply the modes. The first is something that you've probably already done, that many people have already done. It's a diatonic chord progression, which is just a fancy way to say that all of the chords being played belong to one key, and I'm just going to be playing one scale. I'm going to be moving up and down the neck, utilizing different patterns of that one scale, but the whole chord progression is in the key of B flat minor, and all of the notes that I'm playing are strictly from the B flat minor scale. I think there's one chromatic note in there. I was just kind of playing off the top of my head, so I think there's one passing tone in there, but 99.9% of the notes are straight from the minor scale. Given the context of what note I'm playing from the scale and what chord is happening underneath of it, can create some modal sounds, some modal playings, just like what you saw me do with that major scale pattern starting from a different location in the same pattern. The other example is one of my personal favorites. Very fun and it's very freeing. It's what's known as a static chord progression, which is just to say non-moving, a chord progression with just one chord. So in this case, it's just a drone on the pitch B. There is a fifth in there that comes in and out because of the effect that I used the Mel 9 Mellotron pedal. But anyway, this frees me up to play whatever I want, really, given that it belongs, that B is somewhere in there, the family of B, whether it be major, minor. If I'm highlighting a chord that is not actually there, that would belong to a B major or minor chord progression, this is what I'm doing. I'm going in and out of a few different modes. I'll put it down in the description what modes I'm actually going through in that solo. So I hope you get something from this. I hope you see that modes are not the great complex thing that people might make them out to be. Have a good understanding for your major and minor scales, of course. And then from there, the sky's really the limit. All depends on what you want to do with your guitar. It all depends on, or whatever instrument, any instrument, of course. It all depends on the sounds that you want to make, the music that you're interested in, the tonalities that you would like to hear. And that's really it. Have a good one.